everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this Google advertising mini masterclass, we are going to be going through how to set up a Google search lead generation campaign. So this is a complete copy-paste template that you can use to generate leads for your business. Make sure you check out the timestamp table of contents in the description to help you skip around this video, as you'll inevitably need to come back as you put together your own lead generation campaign, and of course some other helpful playlists and links to put together the rest of your lead generation process, like how to put together a lead magnet, opt-in offer, and of course write and put together your landing pages. So with that, let's go ahead, jump in. We're going to go through the 5 steps of setting up your lead generation campaign, and then when you stick around to the end, I'll go click by click through the Google Ads interface to show you exactly how to get all of the settings dialed in just right so you don't waste any money on your ads. The very first step to our process here is the offer. Now, something that's really important with lead generation is not going for the sale right off the bat, right? We want to get our prospects inside of our sales process and then move them through a sequence, whether that's an email or getting them on the phone, before we actually go for the sale. So the point of your Google Ads campaign is to get the attention of your ideal customer, and then your landing pages, your emails, and then your sales calls will ultimately close them. So that's something really important to remember when we're talking about our offer. And for our offers, we want to think about what is something of value you can offer to your ideal customers in exchange for their contact information. So there's 3 main types you can do here. Number 1 is some sort of phone call. Number 2 is a lead magnet. And then number 3, if you're doing any physical products, is some sort of doorbuster or very low price point product to just get them in the door. I'm not going to talk too much more about the e-commerce. I'm going to focus on the first 2. So first up, we have the lead magnet. So what can we do with a lead magnet? It can be a resource, a training, a guide, a template, or a tool. There are a lot of different ideas that you can run with. The main thing here is you want to be asking the question, what is something that can help my ideal customer prospect make a buying decision? So great lead magnets are a case study, assessment, an audit, or a calculator, something of value that can help your prospects understand what you do as a business, and then of course also handle any buying objections that you typically run into. Now with the call, there are a couple ways you can frame the call, because typically this is going to be a sales call, but you can frame it as a strategy call or a free assessment, or getting a free quote is another thing you can do depending upon the type of business you have. But you definitely don't want to call it a free call, and you definitely don't want to say, hey, just give us a call or contact us now. You want to frame the call in a way that it makes it sound like it's going to be valuable, even if they don't wind up doing business with you. So that's key to ensuring that when your call is the offer that you're making in your ad, it actually sounds valuable to your ideal customer. We'll get more into that when we talk about messaging. So here's a quick diagram to just kind of show you how this process is going to work. Our ads are going to drive traffic to a landing page, and after they provide their contact information on that landing page, you'll be able to deliver the lead magnet to them. And after that, it's up to you to ultimately close the potential client or customer. Now, the second step of the process is focusing on how to properly structure our campaigns. And this is really important because I don't want you to lose any money simply because you didn't structure your campaigns correctly. So we're going to go through a diagram showing you step by step what's going on at each step of our lead generation process. So we start at the very top at the campaign level. So what we're going to do is have one offer per campaign. So if you're offering a strategy call, or you have a PDF case study, and then maybe you have a video training, whatever you have, you want to have one offer for each campaign. It's very important that one campaign equals one offer. Then at the ad group level, the next level, this is where our targeting comes in. And this is where we're going to be looking at different ideal customers and different prospects. So when you're thinking of targeting, this is just finding different ideal customers and different psychographic profiles for your prospects. So here, this is where we're going to be grouping our keywords for our search campaigns. Then at the next level, inside of our ad groups, we're going to have our ads. And these are where we're going to communicate with our ideal customer or prospect. So this is all about messaging. Then we have our landing page. Now, what's very important here, there's some videos on the channel that go through conversion rate optimization. You want one landing page when you're just starting. You don't need to do any split testing yet. It's very important. So on this one landing page, you're going to be offering the one lead magnet that the entire campaign is all about. And here, again, you're going to be testing your messaging eventually. But first, we're just going to be testing our ads. We'll leave the landing page the way it is. And then of course, after the landing page, we have the lead magnet that we are offering our prospects in order to collect their information. So now that you understand how to properly structure your campaigns, we're going to go through the first part of creating your campaign, which is the targeting. So targeting, this is where we're asking the question, what are our ideal customers looking for? And the way we're going to answer this question is by using keywords, because keywords is the best way to optimize Google search campaigns. There are a lot of other options inside of the Google Ads interface, but as you can see here, we're just going to focus on keywords. And lucky for you, I have a couple of keyword templates that you can get started with, because you don't need to do a bunch of keyword research when you're just starting. I do have a link in the description to an in-depth video on how to use Google Keywords Planner, but I really don't think that's necessary for your first couple of weeks of advertising. The keywords I'm about to give you are all you need to get started, and I'll reveal why and how in just a moment here. So the first one we have is location plus services. So this is the first group of keywords that we have. It could be city plus service. So you can see here, we have a couple of examples: Seattle PPC management, Seattle chip repair for repairing your windshield, and then Seattle teeth cleaning. And then near me is another great search phrase that you can use where people actually are doing mobile-based voice searches on Google. They just say, "Okay, Google, teeth cleaning near me," or "Okay, Google, chip repair near me," or "Okay, Google, car wash near me," or whatever. So it's very important, if you do the near me ones, that your website is optimized for mobile, because most of your traffic is going to be coming from mobile, but it's going to be significantly less expensive. Now, the next group we have is location plus profession, and it's pretty much just the same as service. The only difference is now we're just saying what we are as a company as opposed to the specific service that we're offering. So here, instead of saying teeth cleaning, we'd say we're a dentist, or we're a PPC management agency. Now, the next one we have is best, and this is something to test after the first two, where we put best and then the name of our service. Now, these last two, we have how to. Any sort of how-to phrase for Google search is a trap. This is something that I do not recommend any beginner starting with. It is possible to see some success with how-to keywords, but 9.9 out of 10 people who type how-to and then whatever they're searching for are not in the mood for purchasing something. They're the DIY person. They're trying to essentially fix the problem themselves. So if someone's typing in how to whiten my teeth, that's not going to be very good for a dentist, because that's more likely someone who's trying to do it by themselves, as opposed to someone who's searching for teeth whitening near me. That's someone who wants to go get their teeth whitened. They don't want to do it themselves. So it's a very basic example, but we have to remember all of these keywords represent a real person. So we want to make sure that we're attracting the right person that's actually going to eventually purchase a product or service from us, as opposed to someone who's just looking for some general information. Now, speaking of general information, that is the last set, the last one you can wind up testing. And this is where you just put the type of company you are, or your niche or industry, and then just put agency, business, companies, or company at the end. This is very super general, and I only recommend using these types of keywords if all of the other ones on this list do not work for you. So now here's why starting with this list is actually going to save you a lot of time and headache, and why I don't recommend doing keyword research when you're just starting. Because inside Google Ads, after a week or two of you running a couple of ad groups using these keywords that I've just provided to you, remember timestamp table of contents, you can just pause the video and use these formulas for your own business or products. What's really cool is after a couple of weeks, Google Ads will actually show you what your real search results terms are. This is something called the search terms report, and it will just tell you which keywords you're actually showing up for, and that is going to be 10 times more targeted, 10 times better than any sort of keyword research you can do. At the end, when I'm diving into the Google Ads interface, I'll actually walk you through how to find the search terms report, but this is just a quick screenshot of what it looks like. All of the keywords that you show up for in Google search results will be here. And now that you have your targeting down, it's time for your messaging. And this is how you're going to communicate and grab the attention of your ideal customers and prospects. What's very important here, frame of mind for success with any messaging in your copywriting, whatever you're doing, is to always focus on the customer and not your features. I'll go through exactly what that means in a second because we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to use PPC management as an example to show you how to write your own ads, because the best way to write your ads is to just see what's already working. So we'll go over to Google and we'll type in PPC management agency, and we can see we have 4 results. So the first thing we want to look at is what are the power phrases, what are the results, what are the big promises that are being made in these ads. So here I've highlighted in red, you can see ROI focus is apparently really important to the first person because they have it twice, ROI driven and focused. You can see the second one also talks about ROI, and then we have a couple of phrases talking about goals and helping the business grow, and then saying, you know, we're PPC experts. Something that's interesting that I really wanted to point out on this particular example is you see in the second one it says, we take the time to truly understand your needs and goals. Now I encourage you to read into whatever's being said inside of these ads, because what this is actually saying is, hey, we know a lot of other agencies are cookie cutter and just kind of throw together something for you and don't really listen to you. And so if I were to do an ad, I might split test something where I talk about how we're really attentive and everything is customized for you and there's no templates. So once you have identified some power phrases, kind of results and big benefits, we're ready to see what is being offered. So here, only 2 out of the 4 are offering a lead magnet, and both of them are offering a free consultation or a free audit. And the second one also has a link to some case studies. Case studies are also a great way to draw people in, because your prospects and ideal customers, they really want to know that whatever you're offering can work for them. So it's great to provide examples of how other people have been successful with you, because it allows them to essentially visualize, hey, you know what, if I work with this company, I could enjoy those benefits, I could get those results as well. Now, finally, what we want to look at is the features. Now, features is something that I really don't recommend focusing on when you're writing your ads. You really want to focus on those first 2, specifically how are you going to stand out and show your ideal customer that you understand them. And that's why I talked about we take the time to truly understand your needs and goals, because I know for a fact some of the ones on this list are very cookie cutter. So here, just look at the features. What are your competitors talking about? What are they specifically calling out? And what might you need to include in your ad, just as a bare minimum of saying, of course we're transparent, of course we do this, and of course we do that. So that's really all you need to look at with the features. On here, you can see that a couple of them talked about transparency, and so that might be something that I would have to put in my ad if I was doing an ad for PPC management services. So let's go ahead and talk about your character limit. So in your headline, you can actually have 3 headlines. As of the recording of this little mini masterclass, Google is actually allowing you to have 3 headlines, although I have yet to see it pop up in any of our search results yet, but you have up to 30 characters in those headlines. And then your URL. This is another great place where you can call out specific benefits of working with you, or you can include little phrases like free, discount, or limited time to build urgency. You have 15 characters on URL 1 and 2. What's great with your display URL is it doesn't actually have to be the actual final destination URL. So you don't have to go renaming your pages so it shows up right in Google. You're allowed to, as long as it's the same domain, you can add whatever you want in URL slot 1 and 2. And finally, we have the description, and they're also testing description line 1 and 2, but you have essentially 90 characters for 1 line of descriptions. I highly recommend you go through this process a couple times, type in couple keywords, just take screenshots of other ads and put together your own. Definitely don't copy paste verbatim, but use it as inspiration to create your own ads. So now we've actually done all of the hard part, and we're ready for step number 5, which is putting together our campaign and optimizing. So it's time to build your campaigns. Now, before we do that, we dive into the Google Ads interface. If you're still watching and getting some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Comment below if you have any questions so far. We're going to dive into the Google Ads interface right after we review everything that we've talked about. So we have our campaign at the top that's just going to be 1 lead magnet. We have our ad groups here. We're going to start with, I recommend starting with 2 ad groups. The first ad group, you're going to have location and service style keywords, and the second ad group, you'll have location and profession style keywords. I'll get into match types here in a little bit, and then we have our ads that we wrote based upon what's already working from our competitors, and then of course we're driving all the traffic to the same landing page, and then we finally deliver the lead magnet to our prospect or ideal customer. And so with that, we're ready to jump in to the ads interface. So here are the settings that I recommend you use as you move forward optimizing and testing. We're going to start at $10 a day. We'll set the start date to the tomorrow morning, and that's just to make sure that you have plenty of time to go through all of your settings and make sure nothing goes live while you're still trying to fix things. For languages, we'll use whatever your native language is, and then for location, we will be doing cities, neighborhoods, and zip codes. And I'll get into what our bidding strategy options are in a little bit here. So I'm inside my Google Ads campaign manager here, and once you've set up an account, I've gone from overview, I've clicked on campaigns, and we could click this giant blue plus button and click create new campaign. So it will give you all of these options for different types of campaigns to set up. Since this is the first time we're setting up a campaign, and I'm going to assume you don't have all that fun conversion tracking set up yet, we need to click website clicks. Doing leads and sales is great if you already know you have a website that's working or you've run traffic in the past. And then here we'll be able to select what type of campaign we want, and it is going to be search. And now we can go ahead and click continue. We'll go ahead and give our campaign a name. Now this is very important for networks. We do not want the display network. We only want the search network. If you want to be fancy, you can create one campaign where you check Google search partners, and you can create another campaign where you don't. Since we're just starting, I'm going to go ahead and leave search partners there. Scrolling down to show more settings, we're going to change our start date to whatever the next Monday is or the next day is. I'm going to have this set up to start next week, and then select an end date that's 5 to 7 days after your start date. So I'm just going to let this run from a Monday to Monday. And the reason I now suggest doing this, I didn't always, but the reason I now suggest doing this is it makes sure that just in case something happens in your life, just in case you forget, this is going to automatically stop, because Google will just spend that cache as quickly as it can. And now for targeting. So we'll go ahead and click on advanced search. And what you can do is start typing in the specific cities around your business that you want to target. Then you can go ahead and actually target by neighborhood as well. And then you can also target by zip code. You want to be very, very thorough here. And even though on the map it's going to overlap quite a bit, you'll actually find after a couple of months of running campaigns, you'll find that a specific zip code does better than other ones, or a specific neighborhood does better than other ones. And the reason that this is important is zip code doesn't necessarily equal neighborhood, and city doesn't necessarily equal a group of neighborhoods or a group of zip codes. So it's great to have all three, because it will help you figure out what the best way to target is moving forward. So in this particular example, if we're in Washington, in the Seattle area, we'd go ahead and target Seattle. We target Seattle, Tacoma. We would target Bellevue and Auburn and Redmond, and then we could actually go down here and it would give us a list of zip codes. Now I personally recommend that you go look up all the zip codes in whatever area you are, and then come up here and click add bulk locations, and then you can just copy and paste all of them in. So I'll go ahead and click cancel. Languages, we'll just leave it at English. Google typically does a pretty good job of giving you the the default language. And then when we come down here to audiences, this is actually something that you want to ignore. This is a great thing to use for display, but because we're doing a search campaign for the first time, we're just going to leave that alone. We're only going to be using keywords. Next, we have our budget and bidding. We're going to be setting our budget at the campaign level. So we're still at the campaign level, that top part in that diagram. So here we'll do $10 a day. And of course, Google, in its own best interest, will always tell you to spend more. You can always increase it if it's not working. That's okay. And then what do you want to focus on? Now here it's telling us conversions. We don't want that. And this is something that you have to be very careful with as you're setting up your campaigns, because Google is trying to do its best to make Google Ads the easiest platform, an easier platform for advertisers to use. The problem is that it makes no sense for you to optimize for conversions when you haven't had any conversions yet. So here we're going to bid based on clicks. Once you have a couple of conversions on your web, well, a couple, at least 50 or 100 conversions, then you can bid for every time someone takes an action on your site that you want, like every time someone gives you a phone call, or every time someone enters their name in email, or purchases a product, or books a consultation. You can pay for those actions. But if you haven't had those actions yet, you're gonna spend a lot of money while Google tries to figure out how much that action should cost. So we'll just do by click. That gives us the maximum amount of control, ensures that Google doesn't burn any of our money, and we'll set the default bid to $2. Once we enter in our keywords, Google will actually tell us after a day or so how much we need to actually be on the first page. I just started at 2 or 3 by default. And finally on this page, we're gonna go and click the down arrow, and we will click add rotation. Optimize for best performing, we don't want. We want them to rotate indefinitely. And what this does is it makes sure that Google sends the same amount of traffic to each ad. You need to be in control of what ad is working and what ad is not. So you will have to go into your ad groups and take a look at which ads are performing and turn them off. If you want this to be on autopilot straight out of the gate, which I don't recommend, then you can leave it at optimize. And that's all we need to do here. We can set up our site links later, click save and continue, let it load, and then we'll have the opportunity to create our ad group. So this is where we're going to create our first ad group. Here I'm going to call it PPC Management 1, and then I'll paste in a couple of the keywords that we had from our default list. So here are 4 keywords, and this is pretty much enough, all we need for this campaign. Now what's nice is there are something called match types inside of Google Ads. So when we just put them in here, they're by default something called broad match, which means Google is just going to do its best to show your ads every time something kind of in the same realm of PPC Management Seattle shows up. If we want to be more specific, we can do the exact same list, but instead put quotation marks at the end, and this is going to be something called a phrase match. Now, a phrase match is more exact in that it makes sure that your ads will only show up when a variation of this specific phrase is typed in. Whereas PPC management, you can show up for marketing agency, you would show up for digital marketing, you would show up for very broad things. Whereas if we did PPC Management Seattle with quotations, all of those words or some variation of those words has to be in the search results. So broad is like this, and phrase is like this, and then exact match is like this, and that's the last type we can do, exact match, and that's where we put brackets around our keywords so that the ad will only show up if someone types in exactly PPC Management Seattle. Obviously, your traffic is going to be a lot lower, which is why we use all 3, because after a week or so, you're going to figure out which style works or which match type works the best. And then when you create new campaigns in the future, you'll know, you know what, exact doesn't get me enough, and broad gets me all these things I don't want, but phrase does really well. So at this point in the process, we can either click save and continue, or we could add another ad group and do the exact same thing with our next list of keywords and then just keep going. For example purposes, I'm going to just click save and continue, and we will move on to creating our ad. So here we would enter our URL, we'd go ahead and put our 2 headlines. Here's the headline number 3 that they're currently testing. Our 2 paths, and this is where we can put discount, limited time, coupon code, free, whatever, and then our description 1, and another thing they're testing, description number 2. So whenever you see something that says new, doesn't always necessarily mean it's here to stay, and then we'd go ahead and click done, and we would be complete setting up our campaign. For time purposes, I'm going to skip this process, and when you're all done setting up, and be taken to the summary of the new campaign that we set up. So we'll just give you a quick summary of everything that you put together, and we can click continue to campaign. And here is the campaign that we just put together. You can see the status here is pending. It's search, $10 a day. We have our ad group with our list of keywords, and you'll see each match type shows up as a different keyword, which is why I recommend keeping the initial keywords you use very small, because 4 keywords turned into 12 relatively quickly. The last thing I want to show you is the search terms report. So for this particular PPC campaign tutorial, this is the most important kind of part of the last step, which is optimization. And with your optimization, this is where you're going to be able to see the keywords that your ads actually showed up for. So we came up with the keywords that we're saying, hey Google, show us when someone types in this type of keyword or this exact keyword or this combination of keywords. This will show you the exact keywords you showed up for and what those people did. Now, eventually this report will have enough data where you'll be able to see and find new keywords that represent ones that get you more clicks, get you more phone calls, more people downloading your coupon codes, or whatever your initial offer is to grab the attention of your potential customers. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video informative and actionable. If you got some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth marketing tactics and strategies just like the ones covered in this video. If you have any questions setting up your Google ads, or if you want more ideas for keywords for your specific business, go ahead and drop them in the comment section below. I still read and reply to every single one. So hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep building the business you love.